Our next speaker is someone who I'm pleased to introduce. This is an amazing young lady and a youth leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Priyanka Lalla. Priyanka is only 14 years old, and she is the UNICEF Youth Advocate for the Eastern Caribbean. She represents the youth at this forum. She's passionate about advocating for climate action, and she is one of the voices of her generation who has been tackling the challenges of climate change. Priyanka, please go ahead and deliver your address. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the conference organisers for the invitation to address this gathering of World Health experts, researchers and policymakers. I wish to also commend you for including the youth voice and for creating an opportunity for intergenerational dialogue. Including us at the table makes me feel hopeful. I'm sure we all agree with the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres that the recent IPCC report is a code red for humanity, and we must act decisively to keep 1.5 alive. As grim as our situation may seem, we cannot look the future in despair. Small island developing states such as Trinidad and Tobago and our Caribbean partners are even more vulnerable due to our size, low-lying coastal communities, and our limited resources to combat climate change. I have hope that my generation can protect and preserve our Earth. We have the energy and the enthusiasm to take on this challenge, but we need your help. We need you to work with us. Your years of research, your expertise, and your wisdom can help us put our ideas into practice and to ensure that the future we are fighting for will one day be our reality. We want the opportunity to fulfill our dreams and ambitions and to make a meaningful contribution to our planet so that we can leave it more beautiful than we found it for future generations. When Hurricanes Irma and Maria struck, I was devastated. I decided that I was going to take personal responsibility to protect and preserve our region from the devastating impact of climate change. We do not have time for a blame game. We can only take the time to act in solidarity and to build a more sustainable and resilient planet for all. Interestingly, children and young people contribute least to our carbon emissions, but many suffer tremendously, and they often suffer in silence. And this is why I advocate for child rights, including children with disabilities. I think once children are safe, healthy, and equipped to face the world, they can achieve their full potential. We are seeing and feeling the impact of climate change more than ever, and we are experiencing temperature increases and changing precipitation patterns. With increased rainfall, often off-season, flash flooding is extreme, along with landslides, sea level rise, and coastal erosion. I was 6 years old when I experienced the impact of flash floods in my primary school in Marival. While there was no physical harm to students, many experienced anxiety and trauma every time it rained. Children across all levels of society are affected by heat waves and dust. Asthma and allergies to dust is common in Trinidad and Tobago. Those in lower socioeconomic levels are severely impacted when there are flash floods. The damage and loss to property, livestock, farm, crops, water supplies, and even personal items of children, such as school books and uniforms, set these families back year after year. The threat to health is a tragedy for children and young people who are adversely affected by climate change. Floodwaters contaminate water supplies and damage crops that they rely on for their meals. The floods put them at risk for both vector and insect-borne diseases. These precarious positions leave their parents cash-strapped and unable to provide nutritious and well-balanced meals. The triple burden of malnutrition is glaring amongst this group. They suffer from undernutrition, micronutrient deficiencies, and non-communicable diseases. Child obesity, diabetes, hypertension, fatigue, and even depression are directly related to poor diets and living conditions. And the COVID-19 pandemic has worsened this position. So where do we go from here? The Caribbean has had a history of commitments to tackling the unique challenges of small island developing states, but we are far from fulfilling the goals of the Samoa Pathway and the Millennium Development Goals, and we need to realistically ask ourselves if we are ready to attain sustainable development goals by 2030. I believe that we still have time to act in solidarity and if we act urgently. The small steps that I take to mitigate climate change come from my own research. Therefore, education is key. The knowledge gap between experts and policymakers and those affected is huge. While your empirical data and your research papers have all the findings and solutions, they are meaningless unless that knowledge is in the hands of the people who are directly affected. This information can reach people in lower socioeconomic levels through community outreach programs and education. Special attention must be paid to educating girls who are home workers and who are often solely responsible for raising children. Families need to teach green skills, and how to collect and store water is critical to mitigating against vector and insect-borne diseases and ensuring sanitation. They also need to know how to provide cost-effective and healthy meals and how to reduce their carbon footprint and how to adapt to climate change by knowing where to build their houses and where to plant their crops. Youth activists, community service organizations, NGOs play a pivotal role in this process. Governments must ensure that school curriculum must also include this information for children and young people. After all, we are the agents for change. Schools and other facilities must be designed to address increased temperatures. Health and climate change policies must be child sensitive. Yesterday, I started in-person school for the first time since March 2020. I launched a zero waste lunch kit challenge to my friends and schoolmates where I'm encouraged them to reduce their carbon footprint at school in our lunch kits, in our pencil cases, and across as many areas as we can. I also challenged them to grow one item that they will snack on. This is called Eat Green, Live Blue. And this is my simple contribution to mitigating and adapting to climate change. I look forward to sharing more with you on another occasion. Executive Director of UNICEF, Henrietta Fore, says that every child deserves a livable planet. I hope that the outcome of this conference will be innovative solutions to help us survive, grow, and thrive. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address you today.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. And I think you will all agree with me that she represented the youth very well. And we assure you that we take seriously the issues that will affect your generation. This also brings to light issues of social justice, as your generation did not create this problem, but you will suffer the brunt of it. I especially liked that you said, there's no time for blaming. Let's move on. I encourage you to continue with your work in this regard. And I also assure you that we have thought through a very important conference with many speakers who are designed to address some of these issues. I hope you will be able to join us for some of those sessions. Thank you again, Priyanka. And I have to say, listening to you reassures us and gives us all hope for the future of our region. Thank you.